كان قلت لنا ميزيك الغزمان وقاينا ميزيك قال هو ربي بدا غيبداني تدريسوها ولا تدريسوها ولا كالتماسة تدريسوها ولا كالتماسة تدريسوها وين تيجلس ولا كالتماسة وين تيرو أنا كان أقول ميزيك آخر هذا الجوار بس سمك وانا يرس نقلها رد كنا يدس نويت تت ميزيك إنه فلتوها تاكل تماسة قاصد تدو وين دي غاتا ترى تجوا يقول تدوري إذا ردنا وانا غنقضي السلم لأنه كون غاسة وتم كون غاسة.
The Sahara, legendary, beguiling, desolate. Little life can survive in this barren terrain. But for ethnic Tuaregs, the desert's interior has been home for thousands of years. Tuaregs are descended from Berber tribes. They number about 2 million people. Communities can also be found in Libya, Algeria, and Burkina Faso. But the largest populations by far live in the north of Mali and Niger. An increasing scarcity of water and habitable land means many people are forced into a mobile existence in harsh conditions.
جرس ولا ما ولك
ديكو شوفي ترجع ما ولو ولا ولا لا
ما ول
دول
دول فاهم ما ول دول تكلم معنا ما ول دول
جا هذا منك كنيسي منك مجر ما ول دول
ما ول دول يا ما ول دول ما ول دول أول دق ما ول
يعني الصحراء.
The Sahara is everything to us.
هي كل شيء بالنسبة لنا نحن.
We are from here and we consider it our mother.
نعتبرها يعني أم.
The Tuareg operated trans-Saharan trade routes for centuries. They have maintained their nomadic existence, traveling, herding, and living off the land. It is an existence that is now under threat. The Aya Mountains. Some of the last green and fertile spaces in northern Niger can be found here. Nomadic families live hand to mouth. Meager amounts of goat's milk and oatmeal cooked in the cold morning. Often no food is left for the next day. The Jibril family's animals were killed by drought, but they have slowly managed to rebuild their herd.
After losing all our animals, we were like the living dead. It was a huge blow to our spirits and our bodies.
Jibril is a Tuareg nomad. The ethnic tribe has lived in the Sahara for thousands of years.
Drought limits the output of animals, so they can't provide a livelihood to their owners. This limits your movement, because you have no animals to ride, so you have to walk everywhere. The nomadic Bedouin loses everything that helps him survive.
Devastating droughts have always been an unfortunate part of life in the deserts of North Africa. But locals say the situation is getting worse.
The Tuareg used to be rich with animals, and the land was rich with rainfall. In recent years, even the rain has decreased. The water has decreased, and animals have died.
The main reasons for the droughts are climate change and a lack of rainfall. This is depleting the already fragile resources in the Sahara.
Locals are right to be concerned. The ever-expanding Sahara is now encroaching southwards at an alarming 6 kilometers a year. Experts blame this rapid growth on desertification, a degradation of land caused in part by deforestation. With 3/4 of Niger now covered in sand, the search for pasture and water is an increasingly desperate one, for both man and beast.
Desertification is obvious here. Look at this enormous space. The white area is where there used to be a lake, and in the 1960s this area was green from here up to the foot of those mountains in the distance. And all this was filled with life and nomads. This is total desertification. Everything has been destroyed.
For Tuareg residents, hardship is no stranger. But many are now angry. Angry they struggle to survive, yet Niger's desert north is home to a wealth of natural resources.
This has been a Tuareg area for centuries, and it's full of resources which they're exploiting abusively, and foreign countries are benefiting from it and even becoming rich from them. Yet we earn nothing from it. Not a single penny comes back to us, or even anything to help us get some water to drink. The people are thirsty.
We have no choice. We are not even considered citizens in our own country. We live in misery. We live in ignorance and disease. Why?
Harun Kadir Jadali is another veteran of both Tuareg uprisings. He took up arms after drought left his family close to starvation.
In 1984, I was a Bedouin living with my brothers and sisters, and there was a great drought. As a man, you're supposed to provide for your family, and at the time, I could not. When you go to the government and you don't find any help, you begin to feel the state has closed all the doors to survival in front of you.
Regardless of the situation elsewhere in the country, Tuareg civilians are the ones suffering. Many have been displaced by the recent fighting. Baby Ahmed and his family were forced to flee the village of Ifrouan. They now live out in the open.
We ran and left all our belongings behind. Now we have no way to get food. We're constantly moving and changing our place.
Because we fled our village, we couldn't get to a hospital when it was time for her to give birth. She lost a lot of blood and then she died. If we'd been in our village, we could have saved her.
Displaced and forgotten by the wider world, the Tuareg have little hope for a happy future.
A young person dreams of finishing their studies and to live a quiet family life. Unless we change the situation.
the situation is changing, but only for the worse. The adverse effects of Mother Nature are now more severe than ever. And the natural resources that were meant to bring untold riches are doing more harm than good. The conditions endured by these women and children highlight why Niger is ranked by the UN Development Fund as one of the most deprived nations on Earth. Conditions they claim are made worse by living near one of the world's largest uranium mines at Arlit.
Before, we had all kinds of animals, donkeys, goats and sheep. Now, they are all gone.
One by one they all perished, more than 100. We lived west of here, but when they got sick we moved to try and save them, but they kept falling ill. They had diarrhea and were weak and thin. We lost everything.
Families have also been falling ill in the Arlit region. The only medical clinic in the area is owned by France's state nuclear company Areva, and residents say they are not allowed to go there. A man who worked as a nurse in the clinic for 25 years says he saw a variety of illnesses that had not been seen in the area before the mining of uranium.
There
were skin diseases with bumps breaking out, especially on the feet. There were also respiratory illnesses, high blood pressure and hypertension. There were illnesses people had not seen before.
A spokesman for Areva told us its mines in Niger were the only ones in Africa to meet international ecological standards and has nothing to hide. But the government admits they have not conducted any studies on the impact on civilians.
The government does not have the means to make studies of different locations and companies. The government trusts its business partner to know if the studies are done properly or not.
But a study carried out by 2 French NGOs found that drinking water for more than 85,000 people in Arlit had radioactive levels considerably higher than international standards. Local Tuaregs have no choice but to drink the water or walk many kilometers in search of a clean well.
The uranium company is extracting 260 cubic meters of water an hour to cleanse the mineral. This groundwater has been present for 3,000 years in the belly of the earth. It's not renewable. What will we inherit? Empty holes in a polluted space? This is what worries us, and this is what will happen, in my opinion.
To us, the Sahara is our origins. We are people who live in the Sahara, Bedouin. Our ancestors have always lived nomadically in the desert with their camels. It represents our real nation.
The concept of Tuareg identity is a great influence on the music of former rebel Ibrahim and his band Tinariwen. Having made waves internationally in the world music scene, he still lives in his remote home village of Tessalit.
I chose this place because I feel comfortable here. This is my nature. Tuaregs have always lived in the desert. When I travel to Europe, it's as if I am imprisoned. When I come here, I feel at peace.
Faced with an eroding habitat and what they say is hostility from a central authority to which they hold no loyalty, many people in the Sahara feel their voices are being ignored.
We live in a state that's closer to being like no state at all. When it's time to pay your taxes, or when you enter the city to sell your animals, then you feel there's a state. But when you look around here, you don't find schools or any other elements of life. God gave us a brain so we can learn, and so we can have the opportunity of a dignified life.
The Tuaregs spiritually regard the Sahara as their mother. But faced with threats from both man and nature, their nomadic existence seems more uncertain than ever. And soon, Mother Sahara may be unable to support her children.
ديوان وين الصحراء بس نجران